Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. We are back, and hey, we got more than just two people. We got three. We have gained by one, but two new faces since last week. One new face and one avatar. Eventually, we might see Ryan's face again one day. Speaking of Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's been a really fun start to the Euros, or so I'm told. Fox doesn't let us see anything other than Landon Donovan's receding hairline these days.
I don't know how to follow that up, but good for you. Poor Landon. Apparently, it was a hair transplant, and they told him you'll look fine, and let him do it. Poor Landon. John.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here hoping you guys would give me better advice than that.
Yeah, that's whoever told him they won't notice. You gotta get that person out of your life.
No, that's subterfuge. That's sabotage. That's nothing that you want to see.
Yeah. Hey, today we have a lot of news to get to. But before we get we want to thank our wonderful, beautiful, just fantastic patrons: John Hunt, Frank Anthony, Aaron J, Christopher Cohn, Harry Austin, John Fuller, Michael Fuchs, Joshua Duder, Noah Telford, Roberto Aguilar, Jeremy Churchman, Stephen Howard, Rion Lacara, Tim Knox, NF Reg 30, MOS, and Kunal Patel. Thank you guys so much for helping us. We are just under a month away from going out to Oakland, and every single penny is going to help us get there, including a new USL Show scarf that is going to be coming soon. So if you don't want to pay for the Patreon, but you still want to help us out, be on the lookout for a new scarf by Olive York that has the USL Show on it. So be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for goals.tv. Goals.tv. If you're someone like me or like Ryan who can't watch any of the Euros, there are people who have been completely legally watching the Euros, and they're going to tell you all about it. There's a lot of Euros content out there on goals.tv and a whole lot of USL content as well. I think they recently just got a partnership with like a league out in Minneapolis, which is really cool. So there's going to be a lot more broadcasting of local leagues. They are getting more involved in the grassroots project, which tells you that they are putting their money where their mouth is and growing the beautiful game in the sport. And if you want to help grow the beautiful game of the sport, check out that content for free, people. Free is free. Nothing's better than free. So you should check that out at goals.tv. It is going to be the first link in the description and also in the live chat if you're here with us live. Let's talk about some news before we get into our mid-season All USL Championship team selections, which is going to be coming up after a few conversations. But we got some big news with Super League is going to be on Peacock. And them and the League 2 and W League are going to stay on the NBC like kind of platforms. But Peacock, the Super League's partnership is said to be 4 years long, I do believe. So with that should bring so much excitement because that means that the league has at least 4 years planned out, which, you know, it's always scary starting a new league, especially one that is rivaling. Wow, it's easy for me to say. Rivaling a top league within this space. The fact that they have 4 years planned just in how they're going to be broadcasting, and like a lot of people have noted, the same place that you can watch the Premier League and other leagues like that, really big deal for the Super League.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's kind of the natural partner, given the fact that the NWSL has concurrent deals with Prime, with CBS, with ESPN, I think something with Apple TV. Like, they've really kind of put their tendrils out in a lot of places. And that left Peacock as a natural destination for a league that continues to position itself as first division quality, not only in sanctioning, but in the signings and the stadiums and the personnel you're seeing. It's a fitting platform for this league to end up on. And it's so beneficial because Peacock increasingly is probably the top destination for soccer. There, like it or not, there's nothing more popular on a regular basis than the Premier League right now. To be able to have those games, and then have Rebecca Lowe say, oh, also go watch the USL, that's going to be incredible. And that's the sort of partnership that you're getting into.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly exciting move for the Super League right now, and I know people will always have the apprehension to, oh, another streaming service or another subscription here, but I would imagine about 90% of the people who follow USL follows the Premier League in some fashion that they will be able to sign up for this or just continue their subscriptions with Peacock as well. And like John had mentioned, that NBC really puts their best foot forward, if you will, in covering all the sports that they have. Just watch from any of their Premier League coverage, their NASCAR coverage. They really do a great job with covering the sports and treating it like it's a huge deal, which it is. And this is just another very exciting move for the Super League.
I think the biggest thing, like you've mentioned, Ryan, is that NBC has shown to do a great job in the sports that they produce and how they promote them. You know, Fox has gotten a lot of crap from soccer fans. I think racing fans have also been on this boat of Fox bad for a very, very long time. And so NBC has built up a lot of goodwill um, with how the Peacock thing is working out. I mean, there's a world where we have to remember they could also be advertising the Super League, right? After or during a primetime NFL game or a Notre Dame game. Like those are the, whether we like it or not, the biggest markets we have in sporting in the US is football still. And for there to be a chance that just on the bottom of the ticker for to say USL Super League live, next Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon or immediately before the game going into a NFL broadcast. What if the time slot right before the NFL broadcast is, Super League, or before the Notre Dame broadcast is the Super League? You're going to get a few clicks because people are just waiting for their game to start and they need something to put on. And it's A Sports, we'll put it on. That's going to get more eyes on the Super League, and that's super exciting for the brand.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we're going to get into it in a second here, but I think in a lot of ways, it's a similar logic to what we're seeing on the men's side with the TUDN deal, where not only are you going to access the Spanish language audience, which is so massive in this country, and we'll touch on in more detail, but you're talking about a league where they've got Liga MX, they've got all the UEFA competitions, Copa America. So much of it is the effect of sitting next to things that people want to watch, getting those eyeballs just because of the location. It's a massive step up for a league that not too long ago was lucky to have one game a year on ESPN. Like being able to say the championship is on TUDN in addition to all the English partnerships, being able to say that the Super League is on Peacock, that matters to the growth of the entire organization.
Let's get to that to the end, because we've talked about the Spanish broadcasting, right? I just think that a lot of USL teams have frankly whiffed on their ability to get Spanish speaking fans into the stands. So much of this country, soccer has become very closed behind the gates, and I don't want to get to straw man, I guess, but organized soccer in the country is very white, right? And for the USL to be where Spanish speaking people are, there's going to be a lot of people who have that on just their normal cable. I have TUDN on my normal cable subscription. It's just there. I don't have ESPN Deportes. I have TUDN. And so, like, there's going to be a lot of people in the Birmingham area who are going to be watching Liga MX, and they're going to see Birmingham Legion. What? Like, I don't know what this Birmingham team is. And I don't mean that Legion's doing a bad job. They've been doing great. But still, like, that's going to happen around the league where people are going to be exposed that the USL, frankly, hasn't done a great job at marketing towards.
Yeah,
But
and I mean, speaking
to
to that effect, I mean, it's triple the amount of households that TUDN is in versus ESPN Deportes. And in terms of the number of games as well, we started with a doubleheader over the weekend with Indy and Orange County hosting on the network. We're going to have, I think, 9 more games as well as the playoff title game on TUDN. That if you prorate it across the whole season, given that we're starting a little late, it's even a step up on the presence that we got with ESPN Deportes. So big deal, big agreement, exactly the path you want to see the league continuing to take in terms of that presence.
Yeah, and to answer John's question in chat, it is through to 2027 is the current CBS deal.
So the USL, as we're talking about, has really, grappled its way into network television. Like, obviously, me talking about, oh my gosh, Super League going into or Sunday Night Football, that's bullish. I completely understand that. But it's still the point that the option to be on NBC proper is there. That's an option, right? Where just this last week we had Tormenta versus Ford Madison on ESPN2. We've had other matches. I think was it El Paso versus Detroit City that was on ESPN proper? Like was that one a couple years ago? We've had CBS proper games. We have CBS Sports Network. We're about to have Peacock. We're possibly going to have NBC proper. The USL has really grappled itself onto network television on channels that almost every single subscription and almost every single cable deal has. Whether you want to buy the subscription to get the other things, that's on you. I'm not looking forward to buying Peacock. I'll be honest. I didn't have it before. I don't really follow the Premier League, but I will because I want to watch high quality soccer in the United States. And they're really putting themselves to be as visible as they possibly can be. Let's quickly pivot just real fast. We have the Santa Barbara team. They're alive. They have their own stadium, 17,000 seater stadium that they are going to be renting from the local university. Is it UC Santa Barbara? I think
it must be, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because I was like, what else is around there? Probably a lot, actually. But 17,000, it's on the bigger side for a USL stadium, but it's also in a beautiful location that I have a feeling that it's going to end up being in a way day haven because people want to like get out away from wherever they are and just go to the beautiful coast of California. Like, and it's in a beautiful place. And really the bigger part of this is that Santa Barbara is not dead. They are indeed alive. So
I mean, that was the worry, right? Like they were supposed to be hitting the field this season the same time Spokane did. Obviously the stadium news is good news. It's been rumored for a hot minute at this point. What you like to see certainly is the fact that League One continues to make steps to expand the geography of the league, like bolster out what you're getting on the West Coast between Antelope Valley, some of the other markets. So good signs. They've got a good brand. Happy to see that we're continuing to make those solid progress that they need to get on the field.
Yeah, and just to grow USL One's presence out on the West Coast is always going to be a welcome sign. You see teams this year with Spokane and Central Valley Fuego that just kind of seem to be out on their own island, and just getting to have more travel partners for them is just going to be beneficial for the entire league.
Well, unless anybody has anything else, let's go ahead and get into the fun mid-season all USL Championship selections. So this is going to be a very fluid conversation. Up on the screen, if you are watching along with us, we have a blank canvas. We are kind of starting this out in what we are thinking to be a 4-3-3, but we are not sold on this idea. We could end up in a 3-man back line. We could end up in a 4-2-4. The world is our oyster. This is our starting 11, not yours. So get mad about it now. But just generally, we're working off the framework of a 4-3-3, and if things get changed along the way, you'll see it. Now, if you're a podcast player person, as soon as the show is over, probably tomorrow morning, or if you're listening to this today, it will be posted on our Twitter account, and you'll see our selections for the starting 11. So if you can't visualize it, just check out either the podcast player or check out the YouTube channel to check it out, or check out Twitter because it'll be there as well. So here's where I am just going to throw out my first two selections because I feel like they're easy. I have my fullback set. It's Stanley and Gurr for me.
I think I'm going to give you Stanley right away. Like, I don't think that you can argue against a left back who is leading the league with 7 assists, doing what he's doing for an Indy 11 team that looks completely elite right now. Like, he's been otherworldly in a way where we saw tons of flashes of it at prior stops in St. Louis, Miami. We never saw the consistency. We never saw the sharpness of the passing and the sharpness of movement. So, yeah, nailed on with the Stanley.
Any against for left back Stanley, Ryan?
No, I mean, John had it basically nailed down to have, I mean, leading the league in assists right now is very tough to argue against. So Stanley at left back.
I do want to give my honorable mention shout to Ezra Armstrong from North Carolina. He's a player who I thought was merely okay in places like Pittsburgh in the past. I don't know what they gave him in his year with St. Louis City, but he has taken the step up majorly. But yeah, Stanley spot. So make the case for Gurr, because obviously this is a guy that I gave my MVP vote last year. I think he's been fantastic again, but I'm happy to hear out what you're thinking.
I think a lot of it is just he is still one of their main reasons why the Sacramento team goes. I think his just the assist and the passing has been good again. And it's kind of hard for me to imagine going somewhere else right now. The only person I think I'd really be interested in would be Turnbull. Yeah. But I just feel like Gurr has been a step ahead of Turnbull. I feel like Gurr on paper would look a lot better if Sacramento started finishing some of the chances that he's created, because I feel like he's creating chances constantly, but Sacramento has been sputtering as of late, and so he doesn't look as impressive as I think he could.
Yeah, numerically, because I see where you're coming from, and Turnbull was my guy. I think the interesting thing with Turnbull is that he gives you a little bit more, like, as a goal scorer in the box, he's a lot of the times more aggressive than Gurr, in fact, in that aspect of the game. In those underlapping runs he gives you in the final third. I can't quibble with his defense either in a Rhode Island team where that's really their strong suit. I think I want to throw out another kind of honorable mention here with Memo Diaz in Oakland. Like, on the sly, he's created more chances than either of them in a team where that has been a struggle until about the past 2 weeks. Like, I'm happy to give you Gurr, but man, Diaz and Turnbull are tough omissions.
I mean, I would personally have to side with Turnbull here just for the defensive consistency that Rhode Island has been on this season. It hasn't really translated too well with getting those victories, but I mean, 9 ties on the year is very tough to overlook.
I'm okay with Turnbull. He would have been my second coming in. Diaz, I completely agree. I think that just like the others, I think that if the team he was on was finishing more, I would be all the way in. I'm not sold defensively on Diaz either. So
that's fair, but it's kind of that issue with Oakland where it's been a revolving door at center back for a lot of the year. He's been asked to play wing back. He's been asked to play full back. Like, I understand the argument certainly, but I think context is hurting him in a way where, like, Gurr has been in this system for 2 seasons. He knows what he's doing. If anything, that's a credit to Turnbull for coming into an expansion side and looking so aggressive. Like, he's occasionally inverted to left back just because Kano, and like he's looked fine the entire time. So
okay, so we are good with where we are. My honorable shout out for left back was going to be Akeem Ward. I came into this
unreal.
I came into this ready to say Akeem Ward, but it's hard for me to look past what Stanley has done. But Akeem Ward has been fantastic as well.
How much philosophically do you weigh the numbers against what you're seeing eye test wise? Because I might have a controversial argument to make when we get further up the field.
Genuinely, I put more weight on film, but it's easier to defend numbers.
Okay.
Like, I'm also thinking, like, hey, when we put this out, people are going to say they have this amount of assists, they have this many amount of passes, they have this many amount of interceptions, they have this many amount of goals. And I can just be like, yeah, but have you watched the film? Because I think film is higher up, but I'm also having to think, how can I defend my choice? Because if I'm being honest, I would probably, if it's only film, I think I'd go Akeem over Stanley.
Yeah.
But
Akeem has been like the defensive burden he's had a lot of the time in Memphis, where you could argue that he's the only competent defender occasionally in that back four. So it's super impressive. But yeah, like Stanley, I think the weight of the statistics is so overwhelming that you kind of got to give it to him.
So where do we want to go next? Because we have a back line. Do we want to work back to front, or is there another place that is really screaming out to y'all of like, this is a no-brainer?
I feel like we should finish the defense if we've started it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go to center back then. Obviously, for now, we have just 2. We can always add one more later if we are oh so passionate. My personal initial shout is going to be Guillen from Tampa Bay. I think especially with Forrest going down, I think that Guillen has shown that he is the best center back on that back line. And the issue is I don't know if Guillen's going to keep playing center back, because I think a couple games ago he came in as a 6. That one's
He's
weird.
there because like Clayman just got the head injury and Lasso's out and everything, and Zane Bob can't get healthy. But I think that speaks to the fact that his range is unbelievable. He's so technical on the ball, etc.
That would be my first center back choice, to be Guillen.
Who else are you thinking? Throw out a couple more names just to ponder here.
Sean Toach from Louisville.
Yeah. Arturo Ordonez is a good one that was put into chat.
Ordonez, he's interesting for me because I think he's a lot less visible in the Lou City system as compared to what he was asked to do in Pittsburgh. Like, so often the Riverhounds teams that he was responsible for a lot of the success of, he was pushing upfield to get tackles around halfway. He was allowed to carry the ball from the wide spots. He's always the centermost guy for Lou City, sitting back. And it's that question of like, what do you value more? The fact that he's always in the right position, never caught out with a long ball, holding that high line? Or do you value somebody who is putting in defensive actions constantly just because he's under fire? Ordonez personally has the better case of Louisville defenders, but like Tosh almost flies under the radar at this point, which is crazy to think about given that he's pretty much a legend.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I am kind of stuck on center backs a little bit because it's kind of what do you want from your center back? Because some people want the ball playing center back. Somebody wants somebody who can just go up and down the pitch. Some people just want, are you going to stop the ball from getting in front of the goal? That's where you kind of get a little If I'm going to throw out another name, I think Lee Desmond would be mine. Other one. In general, I think that he does a pretty good job of, like, for a center back especially, he's pretty good with the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
He moves the ball up and down really, really well. And when things have to start down the middle for Sacramento, I really trust him to do it. But is that what you want out of your center back?
Totally opposite end of the spectrum. Well, I think San Antonio has two guys at the spot who maybe have an argument. Kendall Burks is kind of a new kid on the block, been a revelation in the fact that he has been so efficient at that spot. I think he's upwards of like 70% wins on his dual attempts. And in a team, especially that's been pretty struck by injury, and I know Andy in the comments was shouting out that San Antonio isn't the only team that's been injured, but San Antonio has been like especially injured, and that has made Burks' job all the harder, and he's really excelled coming out of MLS Next Pro this season. I think Guillen is good to lock in for me. I don't know if Ryan, if Kaylor, if you had a number 2 that we want to go with, and put Guillen on the left for my sensibilities.
Another person that I at least would like to nominate who's been pretty instrumental since he's joined Indy 11 is Benjamin Ofimu, who as well, he made that transfer from Miami FC midway through the year. But since he's joined Indy 11, he's been a very consistent 90-minute player. He's been part of 5 shutouts across all competitions for this Indy 11 side. That's really spurned them on to now 8 consecutive wins in the league. And I think he is certainly worth a shout.
I'll put it Famu just because he screamed into my camera during the game a couple weeks ago.
He, on the sly, he's been one of the best ball-carrying defenders in the USL, which, I mean, people like Kaylor knew that was in his bag. Like, given the fact that he was in the wilderness for Miami for a minute there, I think it was easy to forget that he's incredibly technical. And, I mean, that's been so key for what Indy wants to do in all phases of the game. Plus, I mean, the guy's a tank in the box. Like, nothing gets by him. So if we're going on, like, form for the past 2 months, which is most of the season at this point, I think he'd be a very defensible pick.
Benafemu, I think if I'm really having to narrow down my 2, I think I'm going to say Benafemu because, I mean, yeah, that I was thinking he just got to Indy, and I was checking to see how long he's been there. It's been a while now. It's been more than just a cup of coffee. He's been on a heater. I think my 2 is going to be Benafemu or Kendall Burks because I love what Kendall Burks does.
This is the other thing for me. How much are we trying to spread the love for teams, given that we've got an Indy defender already?
I mean, best teams are best teams.
Okay, then I like Ofemu.
Okay. That's it. Benafemu. Congratulations, Big Ben. Also, if I can find it, I'm going to play Ofemu. I'm going to play his audio of him just screaming cuss words right into my camera because it was hilarious. Let's see. Goalkeeper. Now, goalkeeper, I have a very intense feeling about this. I think it's Schultz from Indy. I think we're sticking on the Indy train. The circle, the Venn diagram circle of when Indy started winning and when he came into goal is a circle. He's very talented.
What if I told you that Danny Vitiello has twice as many goals saved above expected as him?
I'd be incredibly shocked, to be fair. I would be incredibly surprised.
What if I told you that Renan Ribeiro from Hartford leads the league by like a mile?
It's Hartford. I'm not shocked.
But I'm not making that argument. Yeah.
I think what kind of scares me away from Vitiello is his shot stopping is really, really good. Yeah. When I watch him, he worries me a bit because it doesn't look as solid. And maybe this is him. Maybe it's him like I don't know what's the word I want to say here. Maybe he's suffering from his own success a little bit, but he just doesn't look like the same Vitiello he did in the past, and I guess that's holding me against him a little bit. I'm
And I guess coming off
I'm
of
okay
a
with
goal
talking
conceded
about Grin Wiz.
performance is tough to
Yeah.
defend, but Vitiello does have the second best save percentage within USL Championship right now, and 8 clean sheets across the league. He is current Golden Glove leader.
I'm also not against Grin Wiz.
It's a kind of a chicken and the egg thing, right? With what's the quality of the defense, what's the quality of the shot stopper.
Yes.
Grinwis has been excellent, don't get me wrong, and I think he's probably marked something of an improvement from what they had with Trey Muse last season. I think the fact that Kuzemka came in and also looked really good is kind of a dumb counter argument in my mind right now. For me, if we're talking alternatives, like I know I'm kind of in the tank for Rocco Rios Novo, but what he does as a shot stopper and with somebody who can really initiate with the ball at his feet is kind of hard to deny.
I absolutely would kill for freaking Rios Novo. Rios Novo has been my guy for a long time. I'm okay with here's where I am on the goalkeepers. I'm kind of cool with just about any of them because the USL is very well stacked in the goalkeeper position. That in center back feels like you could talk for hours on who the best one is and what you want out of a team. You could sway me anywhere on goalkeepers.
My vote's for Vitiello.
Okay, I'm down for it. We also have gone all East so far, and I feel like certain commenters will not be happy about that.
Who would that be? I don't know. I'm trying to remember how to Vitiello.
Vitiello.
Oh, see, I'm all over, dude. I nailed it. All right. Let's get into this midfield. Okay. So
I have so many names here.
I know. I'm really torn on where I want to go. I think I want to move. Go to the middle of the park, maybe. I want to throw out a number 10, and that's Bruno Lapa. I think what he has done as a late run into the box, create the assist to the assist guy. I like what Bruno Lapa has been doing in that kind of like 10-8 role.
He has been incredible for this Memphis team. I think it's hard to separate out him and Marlon and Luis Fernando in a lot of ways. But the more you watch Memphis, you see what works for them in build, what doesn't work for them, how are they getting their best chances. Lapa is kind of definitional to every single one of their good opportunities. I struggle. I absolutely think he should be in the mix. It's gonna I have another number 10 type guy. 2 or 3 of them that I really want to make an argument for. So maybe we're gonna have to tweak the midfield a bit. But yeah, Lapa feels, if not undeniable, like pretty close to it.
And when he's contributed a goal this year, Memphis have yet to lose a match.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
So in terms of, guys who are going to play in the middle, play as that number 10, like Jack Blake doing incredible things for Indy. And I know he's been a little bit left of center in terms of the positioning, but very much a center midfielder at heart. Paired with Stanley in a lot of ways in terms of the pass before the assist. He's been an unbelievable penalty taker, which, yes, it's cheap, but yes, it counts for something, certainly. I think his work rate can go under the radar in a lot of ways. So I got to shout out Jack Blake at least.
Okay.
Jorge Hernandez out of San Antonio.
Oh boy.
Jorge
I
Hernandez.
forgot about Jorge Hernandez.
Jorge Hernandez is a fantastic shout. I think that he's get lost in the mix because he's been the only one doing things. And because he's the only one doing things, they shut him down because they put like 8 people on him at once and just said if he does nothing, no one else does anything either. I'm okay with Hernandez.
He's playing as like a number 8 in a 4-4-2 half the time now, like just because half of San Antonio is dead. Like I mean, he's had an impossible job in that team.
Leads
I'm
San
okay
Antonio
with
in
Jorge
goals
Hernandez.
plus assists.
I feel like, well, and this can be another question of how are we lining up this midfield, but Valentin Noel, somebody I've written about a lot. I love to watch play. He's played as a striker. He's played as a defensive mid. He's done it all in Las Vegas. Incredibly slick with the ball at his feet. Never somebody who's going to be selfish on the ball, but knows when to take opponents out on the dribble. Very incisive passer, although maybe not as incisive as JC Nagano right next to him. But he's kind of got that goal-scoring impetus that no one else on the Lights regularly has. Kind of an incredible pickup in 2024. So,
I thought this would be easier. It's so not.
So if we're doing a number 10 of the people we've mentioned, I kind of want it to be Lapa.
I'm more for Lapa, but okay. Just because Jorge Hernandez has been dropping a little bit deeper than that true 10 who's making that late run into the box, I feel like you maybe say Jorge Hernandez is a little bit lower. Maxi Rodriguez,
we're legally required to mention Maxi. Maxi has been incredible too. He played a little bit of striker almost over the weekend, and the way he was pressing, like Danny Dichia is making him do all sorts of different things this season, and he's been wonderful. But maybe less of the star power from him, like more of the dirty work.
I'm okay with putting in Lapa.
Let's do it.
I think Lapa's fair. And it gives us another Western Conference player.
True. A little bit, let's see. If we're looking at other like kind of CDMs, I mean, Aaron Malloy, right?
Yeah.
How can you say no to what he like? We're in this weird timing right now when we're talking about this, where Charleston hasn't won a game in a month. And yet, like Aaron Malloy has created 38 chances this season. He's got 2 goals. The way he sets the tempo is ridiculous. He's completed like 200 more passes than anybody else. He's the textbook definition of a defensive midfielder who changes the game because he's that amazing on the ball. Yeah, I think you can pencil him in, and that makes it so hard with this final spot where we just got Tommy McCabe in the comments, and I'm like, oh man, that's a great shout.
Not to mention for Malloy, he's been an Iron Man for Charleston this year across all competitions. He's only missed 6 minutes.
Yeah, incredible.
He's an
incredible player.
Tell me, I mean, maybe I'm forgetting someone. There's not a better free kick taker in the league. Like, he's an absolute
Hernandez, arguably, but yeah.
I'm kind of feeling putting Jorge Hernandez as this like 8, double pivot 8.
Now, I got to throw out some names because the one that is like my pet project is James Murphy. I've been obsessed with him all season long. I think that Detroit is letting him cook in a way. Monterrey never let him cook in the way that Detroit is letting him cook. He's a great passer, really solid defensively, and often kind of the only lower seeded midfielder in that unit. Like, really been great. Also, like Elijah Winder and Taylor Davila, you could pick either Louisville center mid and you would be completely justified because it's almost hard to separate the way that they've been amazing. And Winder shows a bit more range, certainly. Like, you're more likely to see him get upfield, get into the box, do active things with that very tight control around the area. But man, this is such a hard spot to think about.
Can I throw out another
Velo to
name?
toss out as well.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Florian
yeah.
Velo.
So Florian Velo may or may not be part of my idiotic controversy up top, but yes.
Can I throw out another name?
Yeah.
Rafael Baca.
Baca's been amazing too, and I think that Monterrey would have like 2 points all year if he wasn't in that roster.
I think this last midfield spot is going to be a nightmare to the point that we can't make it a. If we made this a 4-4-2, we would need just to cut out this one midfielder. We have a 6, we have a 10, and we go with wingers and 2 strikers. But I also feel like there's so many deserving people of this last spot that just changing to 2 wingers and 2 strikers doesn't feel right to me.
No. Well, I would pick like 3 or 4 players at this position ahead of the options we're going to get to in the wings and the forward lines. I'll tell you that.
Well, if that's the case,
what if we run a diamond? Yeah.
I was going to say, what if we just go ahead and move to the wings and to striker and see how we feel?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm here for it.
Now, I would like to just kind of throw out a couple of names that are kind of like striker-ish, or not striker, but like winger-esque, whatever you want to do with these. You have Markanich, who is hot as can be, slowed down a lot. Do you hold that against him based on his goal output? I don't know. Marlon, who is as hot as he's ever been, and he's been one of the best players in the league since he's joined, and this is his hottest stretch ever. Foster is someone that I'm probably going to bang on the drum pretty hard for. Serrano slowed down a bit as well, but still very, very good. With those, I feel like I'm going to cast my vote for Foster from Colorado Springs.
I feel like I'm just being a hipster when I say, yeah, put in Malik Foster over Nick Markanich. When Markanich has 12 goals and 3 assists, he kind of led the best stretch of soccer we've seen all season from any team right now. But if you watch Colorado Springs, and I mean, hey, they play tonight as we're like about to record, as we're recording this show, like he's kind of everything for that team. There's not a more exciting player in the USL, certainly on the dribble. Like he's lightning quick. He's really doing what you need him to do as a passer and as a scorer right now. Like we might just have our heads up our own bottoms right now, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough position to consider.
And if you're looking at just from pure chance creation, he has 24 chances created. When you look at other players within the squad of Breno Lapa at 29, Aaron Malloy at 38, you're seeing players who are able to create a lot of chances that I'd be willing to be convinced to put Malik Foster into the attack.
Yeah, and I mean, it certainly is the question too of like when you think about Malloy, who's got like someone like Emilio Icaza in front of him, someone like a Markanich on the wing. Foster, who are those pieces? Like Ronaldo Damas is a great striker, but he's not somebody who's going to get involved in possession. Yusuke Hanya has been up and down, and he's finding form, but he's not been that guy either. Like Foster, in an offense, grant you, that is a little bit more tepid, has kind of been the driving engine behind it all. So
I also just Ben, just go ahead and mute this. Ben, turn this off. I think if I'm having to choose like Marlon or Foster over Markanich for me right now. I think that when you look at and again, you're talking about what about supporting cast and all that kind of stuff? I think when you're looking at what is making Memphis go, you're looking at Lapa and Marlon, to the point that Marlon is really impressive right now. And his statistical output matches what he's doing on the field, right? Like the statistical output is there with like Malik Foster. I feel like they're kind of doing almost similar things, but Marlon has the numbers.
I think we put Malik Foster on the right wing because if we're putting in Bruno Lapa, we're probably arguing he's actually been the most important one. So,
okay.
And I guess that's always been the eternal debate on if the players here, how valuable are they to their team versus how talented or are they the best players of the position?
Okay. So our left wing and our striker.
Let's do striker.
Wilson Harris. And for me, it's Wilson Harris or Cal Jennings right now.
Jennings over Arteaga.
Part of me has PTSD from the Open Cup game, and it's hard for me to separate. I'm going to be honest. But a little bit, yeah, because when Arteaga was out recently, Jennings was still a nightmare for teams. And I'm not saying that Arteaga is not a nightmare, but I think when you pair the fact that he is in strike force with Cal Jennings, I think it makes Arteaga's life easier, where I feel like Cal Jennings was kind of doing it even when he was all by himself.
And both players have the even amount of goals, but Arteaga has 3 from the penalty spot, with Cal Jennings having none.
Arteaga is also finishing at a 31% rate versus 19 for Jennings. So you're getting that efficiency. For me, I feel like Arteaga is also a little bit more involved in build-up play. He is a little bit more active as a presser as well, which matters in that system. Is this a moot argument because it's just Wilson Harris?
Probably.
I think
we
so.
got a good comment about Trevor Amon in there.
Yeah, Trevor Amon's a good one.
I mean, it's so odd that he has, I think, not started 2 games in a row at this point, if I'm remembering correctly, because they've just decided it's Kieran Phillips and Juan Sebastian Herrera. That kind of hurts, even though if I were Mark Briggs, I would be starting Trevor Amon every single time I can.
I also think that if we're talking about is this a talent or is this an output conversation, Kieran Phillips is also in this conversation.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah.
But I do think it's Wilson Harris.
Yeah, I think I can't disagree with you.
It has to be Harris. A special shout out to, at least if we're talking about output, Greg Hurst has been very instrumental for New Mexico this year, but he's certainly further down the depth chart.
If I'm thinking New Mexico, for me, it's Micheletto for me if we're doing a New Mexico player. But I don't want to introduce another central midfielder, but
Micheletto was on the tip of my tongue for a long time.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm okay with that.
So here's the question. Do we just want to do like Wilson Harris as the big man, Malik Foster is kind of the mobile forward, and then we do 2 more center mids, or do we want to stick with the 4-3-3? Let's talk through left wing at least.
Let's have a conversation about left wing, I suppose. This is where I'm super torn because I'm really not sure what I would even want or who I would go with right now, because their left wing feels more like there's a jumbled mess of everyone, kind of.
Yeah.
There's a conversation about Evan Conway, I think.
Too late arriving, maybe? Like, given that he
Yeah.
barely played? Yeah. I mean, Serrano feels like the natural pick here, certainly. Like, he has good, not spectacular numbers so far this season. I think it's 5 goals, 3 assists, which is still great. But the way that he operates in that system as well, like he can press up as a proper winger. Oftentimes, Danny Cruz will have him play much deeper as almost an additional center mid in possession. For somebody of his frame, he can play off physical contact really effectively, good with the ball at his feet. I know, like, Hartford has been garbage, but Deshane Beckford, and Beckford only has 2 goals and 2 goals and a single assist, but he's been incredible in a team that just doesn't score. Ali Cook, before he went off the grid, could have had an argument there, and now he's back in Ireland, I think.
Allegedly, yeah. I really don't feel strong. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it depends on where he plays typically in attack, but another shout out to Valentin Noel from Las Vegas as well.
Yeah, I just feel like there's not really any left wing that I feel super strongly about.
Okay.
I can throw out a biased one.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you at some point, like, do you have any Legion guys that you're wanting to fight for?
Honestly, I would fight for this person. Legion person would probably be another midfielder, which would be Kobe Hernandez Foster.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it kind of depends on what you want, I suppose. I think Prosper Kasim has been very good, but he's also more right winger. But they've been deploying him as a left winger. John Ford puts Tyler Pasher. I have the incredible hot take of I don't think that if you're putting out a best form 11, I don't think you put Pasher in even for Legion right now.
If we're doing like the highest highs 11 of somebody who can just be magic on a moment's notice, Pasher always for me. But yeah, I think we've not seen it quite consistently enough.
Are we talking ourselves into a formation change?
I think we are, because I feel strongly about absolutely nobody.
All right. So, I love that it's just going to be stupid and imbalanced.
Oh, as it should be.
I mean, that's a Football Manager meta play.
Yeah.
Okay, so we thinking maybe a diamond?
I like it.
So put Malloy at the base and 2 people here. Perfect. Which, if we have 2 midfielders, I'm putting Noel in there.
Okay. So if we're completing this, for me, the 2 names that really pop up are Elijah Winder and Rafael Baca. Ooh. Other than Noel, like if I'm accepting Noel.
You know what? We talked about him so long, though. Jorge Hernandez would just be it'd be pretty mean to not have that conversation still. But
he's the leading chance creator in the league right now.
Is it Hernandez over Noel?
I think Noel might have come on a little late.
Yeah.
Hernandez has been doing it all season long.
Yeah. He's easy to argue for, right? Like, yeah, I know I just made the thing about Pasher. Hernandez is kind of one of those guys who can pull a moment of magic out at any moment, whether as a passer, whether as a set piece taker. But he gives you a little bit more of that rhythm in possession. When San Antonio has tried to kind of change styles this season and play possessive, the goal has been to highlight Jorge Hernandez between the lines, right? Like, he is the sort of player you build an entire team around. So I think I'm happy to get him into the midfield somewhere.
And if you're looking at Las Vegas midfielders, Jean-Claude Ngannou actually has more chances created over Valentin Noel, despite Noel having more finishing output.
And you could make a JC Ngannou pick for sure. I think that he maybe hasn't lived up to the defensive responsibility for my taste on occasion in that midfield, but there's not a more slick passer from deep lying areas really hitting those progressive balls between the lines than Ngannou right now.
Taylor Davila from Louisville.
Oh,
I mentioned him earlier, and I think Winder has the better argument.
I agree, but Davila has also been stunning, but also Louisville City just gesture wildly at Louisville City. So
are we happy with Winder? Filling it out.
I could take Widener.
I can take Winder. Okay.
Let's do it. I feel good about this. I feel like the only pick people are going to really like, well, I take that back. There are a couple.
I think the biggest one that we're going
to Turnbull are going to be eyebrow raisers.
I think Foster, I think you're going to have to look at Markanich. I'm willing to talk about Markanich versus Foster since it's now two strikers.
Sure.
I'm willing to have that conversation because kind of shoving Foster to be a striker when he is a true right winger. And I understand Markanich is too, but also he played as a 9 for much of the year when they were running
Can
hot.
we also shout out Harry in the comments pleading to not include a San Antonio player? Because that is classic stuff.
I respect it. No Markanich, no party. Then
I mean, yeah,
like
if we're doing 2 forwards, I think we change it up.
To Markanich?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough to leave off the Golden Boot leader.
Yeah. And as much as he's slowed down, it's because like defenses are selling out against him and kind of bending to his will. So here for it.
Yeah, I'm more okay with Markanich here. If we were sticking with basically right wing, I'm going Foster. But you do kind of have to put your Golden Boot leader in there, despite us desperately wanting to be as USL hipster as possible.
Yeah, it's the constant struggle.
I mean, the best kind of best 11s, if you will, are the ones that create the most debate because it gets good interactions online.
Embrace debate.
By God.
Smith. Yeah.
Should we do manager?
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Where would our
manager? I didn't even think about that. Jeez.
I mean, for starters, McAuley from Indy, I mean, 8 consecutive wins is getting into historic numbers within the league. I think you're looking at there's one team on 9, but then like you're thinking about Phoenix Rising 2019 who got to 20. You're looking at FC Cincinnati 2018 who got to 10. This is like historic numbers coming from an Indy 11 team who has Orange County and Rhode Island who could very well hit that 10-win mark.
I think Eric Quill has a real shout here. New Mexico was a team that I think a lot of people thought was going to be fine in the preseason. Like they were going to maybe make the playoffs. They were going to be okay. And I know that they have a negative goal difference right now.
Atop the West.
They're in first place in the West, and that is a gigantic achievement for this club. They don't have the resources of a lot of teams out there. They don't have the stars of a lot of teams out there. Like we only half mentioned 2 New Mexico players in the mix, right? Like the fact that Quill has got this team clicking the way he does, the way he's implemented his system, got that high pressing game going. I think that he is as deserving as anybody.
I have
to New Mexico's credit, if you take away just the 3-0 and 4-0 defeats, that's the bulk of what their goal differential is.
Yeah. I have 2 shouts, and that would be Eric Quill and James Chambers.
Chambers is so underrated, I have to say. Like I don't want to be mean to the switchbacks. I had them as my consensus.
I had them as my consensus worst team in the league. I thought they were going to suffer and die this year.
I wasn't that negative, but they're a team that I think has always kind of underperformed expectations. Like when you look at the roster and think this team should be better than they are, at least in the post-Burke era. Well, even with Burke in the playoffs, let's be real. Chambers is kind of flipping the script in the way. He's revived them for a team that shouldn't be that good and kind of is. I feel like Danny Dichio also needs a nod here for like Detroit obviously was always very defense first under Trevor James. They've not lost that identity entirely. They're still very solid. But the new principles he's instilled in possession, the way they move without the ball, the way that he operates with his in-game changes, for me, he's immediately one of the elite managers and the elite kind of game operators that there is across the division. Like really good stuff from him.
I would probably vote Quill.
I think I'd also go Quill.
See, I brought that up and now I'm like second guessing.
Here's the thing, like I'm down with a lot of managers. There's so many really good managers right now. I'm looking at Chambers, I'm looking at Quill, and it feels like a layup because of market and how much money they put in, but this has been a Danny Cruz masterclass season as well.
Yes.
So, like, just to kind of ignore Danny Cruz because they are flying so high when he has done a masterful job of managing this year would be kind of messed up as well. I mean, yeah, when you look at the
thinking about Cruz real quick. I mean, this was a team that really leaned into young talent in a way that they've not previously. Like when you get rid of Paolo Del Piccolo, you see Brian Ownby go down. I don't think the expectation was, Ray Serrano and Elijah Winder and Wilson Harris, who are all like 24 years old or younger in the case of Winder, are going to be the guys who are driving this team. Not only are they doing so because of the way Cruz has fostered their development, but they're doing so with one of the most distinct tactical systems that there is in the league. There's not a club out there that imposes a style of game onto a given match like Louisville City does. And that all goes down to the way that Cruz lines them up.
Can I add in one last name to just the ideas?
Please.
Ryan Martin for his fashion.
Yes, right away.
Ryan Martin for the change into the back three and like turning that midfield into God mode. Yeah.
Dennis Sanchez has also done a really nice job this year.
The thing about the Lights is that we love them, but they're not like that great in the table. And I wish they were, but it feels like it's a little bit cart before the horse, even though he's been, let's think about the job he was given, like taking a roster that no one knew each other in February and making them into one of the prettier possession teams in the USL. Like that's a job he's done. It just feels like they're coaches with a little bit more of an argument.
I agree. I just wanted to throw that one out there.
You're good. You're good.
I was in on Quill.
Like Will is the guy. Okay.
I think it's Quill.
I was in on Quill, but now I've started talking myself into Chambers again. Because I thought the switchbacks were going to be so bad. Okay, Harry actually brings up a good idea. Brendan Burke says he's going to sell all of his players if they continue to be toxic. He has started to sell all of his players, and then they've won a game. So Brendan Burke keeping his word and giving us some electric post-game interviews. If that's what you want out of a manager, which I want out of my manager, but from afar, I love it.
What's hard about manager is that you could legitimately sell me on like 10 managers and I would just go along with it. Like we've not even mentioned Ben Pierman.
Yeah. I think what's hard about some of these, and it's the trap that we fell into, which is why I brought up Danny Cruz, is that the good teams don't feel like they should have manager of the year because they already had a good team. Like there's a reason.
Premier League.
I mean, like people bring up, like, yeah, was it Pep Guardiola just won Coach of the Year? But everybody's like, what about this mid-table team? Look at this mid-table team. They don't have all the money of Manchester City, but also Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world. Like,
does it hurt Danny Cruz that he's lost the matchup to Charleston and the matchup to Tampa Bay? Like Pierman outcoached him and Nielsen outcoached him in those games.
when
Had a
you're-
0-0 draw with Rhode Island.
But also, like, they're scoring like 80 goals a game.
Yeah, true.
when you're looking at the level that Cruz is on, yes, I think that does hurt.
Yeah.
So not Cruz out.
Let's do Quill, because Quill is the
Quill.
nice story, and we've not represented the first place team in the West.
Okay, let's to all the colorblind people. I'm really sorry.
He's actually the right winger.
Yeah, I don't know if it shows up on the side, so we'll find out.
We'll see.
All right, so I'm gonna go from back to front. We are in a what would you call this? Like a
4-4-2 diamond, bud.
4-4-2 diamond. Okay, just want to make sure. God, if we could just get Lowry on right now, like he is just having an absolute party right now. From the back, we have Vidiello in goal with Guillen and Benafemu as our center backs. Left back is Stanley. Right back is Turnbull. As our CDM, we have Malloy. As our two central midfielders, we have Winder and Hernandez. As our number 10, we have Bruno Lapa. And as our two forwards, we have Harris and Markanich, with our manager being Eric Quill. The biggest one not here that we're going to have to answer for is going to be Blake.
To which I say penalties.
Penalty fraud.
And, like, Lord knows, I love Jack Blake. I think Jack Blake is one of the most intelligent movers in any midfield in the USL. I've loved the guy since he was with San Diego and Monarchs and the Jacksonville Armada in the NASL. But I think Winder has a more holistic impact on a game of soccer.
Is there anybody on this? I don't care who. Is there somebody that you want to put out there of I'm having second thoughts?
It's the Gurra Turnbull thing for me. That's the only one.
I think Turnbull's the right answer, but we're going to have to respond to any Gurr comments with film of Turnbull because the stats do not back it up.
Well, I will pull together a highlight reel tomorrow and we will be good to go.
Like, I think Turnbull is the right answer. I think if we're going off film, I think Akeem Ward has the conversation over Stanley, though. If we're going stats,
yeah. I think we stick with it. I think we stick with it.
Okay. All right. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with this.
All right. Well, I don't want to do a bench because Lord knows we'd be here forever talking about honorable mentions. So, cool. Well, this will be posted in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and get into some real fast predictions. And I actually need to send Ryan my predictions, which I will do in the meantime. But let's start off with a little conversation, which is going to be Pittsburgh versus Louisville City. This one's going to be spicy off the field, but Pittsburgh has frankly been toothless all year long versus a Louisville team that we just mentioned kind of got embarrassed a little bit. I say that like it was still a close game, but I mean, the scoreline does not show what was happening to Louisville for a while there. Does Louisville City come out and just rip apart Pittsburgh, Or does Bob Lilly, who allegedly had the team for over 50 minutes this most recent match on the field, does that finally get through the Riverhounds? John.
Oh, I mean, Pittsburgh did just add another piece today. If you had asked me in a vacuum who is the least Bob Lilly player in the USL, Yannick Mushagalusa might have been the guy I came up with just out of the blue. Lo and behold, he's a Riverhound on loan now. I don't even know if he'll play against his old club. We'll see. Pittsburgh's in miserable form. They scored the least goals of anybody in the USL. They can't finish. Lou City is going to come out hungry after the Tampa Bay loss. No doubt in my mind, Louisville win.
Yeah, I have to back Louisville on this one. Highmark, despite Louisville having not scored a goal at Highmark Stadium since 2019, which is just kind of a really insane streak to think of, it's just not the same venue that you are used to seeing out of this Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. It's a Pittsburgh Riverhounds team who's already lost 2 games at home all year. I can't see Louisville coming out of this match without at least finding the back of the net. Once, maybe twice, I have Louisville winning this.
I also have Louisville for all the reasons stated above. Let's go ahead and go to the hospital itself and go down to the Magic City, where Birmingham is taking on Sacramento. I think this one's just going to be interesting purely because everybody is hurt, and you might get 2 teams put out academy squads, and it'll be hilarious. John, who you got?
Wait, Birmingham, Sacramento is the game?
San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio.
I was
Don't listen to what I say.
We just saw that one. Yeah.
Don't listen to what I say. Just know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't remember what I put on the predictions here, but I think that this game is going to end in a draw. I think San Antonio, Nelson Blanco Flores coming in and putting in a real nice shift at the wingback spot was good to see just in terms of stability. The midfield balance is what you want, certainly, with Lambert and then Hawkinson and Hernandez ahead of him. That's a tough team to match up against, but I'm a huge believer in the Legion's defense. So I think this one ends up being pretty punchy and ends in a draw.
Ryan? You're on mute.
Yeah, what's really funny about this matchup is that you have the team who is the worst away team in the Western Conference right now in San Antonio, who's only picked up 4 points all season away from home, going up against the team who's the worst at home in the Eastern Conference all year of Birmingham, who's also only picked up 4 points at home all season. It's a San Antonio team that is, I think, really in desperate need of trying to find some form, having lost their last 3. I have to go Birmingham to get their second win at home this year.
I'm also going to go Birmingham purely on the basis of Kevin Lambert is going to be on international duty.
Yeah,
I kind of hate it.
Is Mohamed Omar healthy? Is he alive?
Probably not.
Will he play? Probably not.
Probably not. Last time I saw, they had 7 people out on injury, and I think he was one of them. That's the last time I saw that. Yeah. In all seriousness, though, I mean, I do think that Kevin Lambert being away for internationals sways this in Legion's favor. I think with what they're doing in the midfield, I think San Antonio might get a little overrun if Lambert is not there. So I'm going to take Birmingham.
I just looked at the predictions. Phil locked Birmingham for this one, which seems crazy, but go off King.
Phil's insane. I want to do one that's I think a little bit interesting, and let's go out to Phoenix versus Charleston.
Title rematch, right? I mean,
a rematch. The away fixture.
I think Phoenix is actively hurting themselves every time they pick a lineup at this point. Like Danny Stone is just kind of putting out nonsense 11s every single time, like using 4 center backs, benching Panos constantly. If he's got Armanakis in the team and he lets this team really kind of use some tempo in the way they attack, maybe they come out looking strong. Otherwise, Charleston is just better than them. So battery.
It's interesting that we see this Battery team kind of going off of this goalless streak that they're currently on, because this time last season, they were on a similar 3 games without a goal match, and I still think it's a team that is kind of still suffering from that Open Cup hangover, if you'll call it, but I'm not sure how much longer I'm allowed to say that if they're just going through a bad form. I'm going to take a draw on this one, but I would certainly lean more towards Charleston if I had to pick a winner.
I am going to go Phoenix purely because it's in Phoenix. I wish I had a better reason. I just think that with it being a home match, title rematch, I think fans are going to be very excited. And I think that Phoenix is one of the best atmospheres in the USL when it's rocking. And this feels like a match that's going to be absolutely rocking. I think that kind of puts things towards Phoenix's favor.
I thought their Twitter interactions were down.
Oh, Instagram too. Anyway, I love him. He's been nothing but good to me.
Yeah, Phoenix fans are great. They get a bad rap. They're all great. I love them.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to League One, where I think the matchup of the weekend, which is Ford Madison versus Union Omaha. Union Omaha, who just doesn't look like they'll ever lose. Like they are just so much better than it seems like everybody else. But Ford Madison is really humming, man. Really, really humming. I love what they're doing. What do we think?
I think Omaha plays a game that matches up quite well against Madison's. I don't think they're as susceptible to the way that Madison wants to break teams down, the way that they try to engage Galinjas in those forwards. I'm going Omaha here, but I think this is a real kind of heat check game on both sides at the top of the table.
Yeah, you're looking at the all-time series between these two teams. It's 3-6-3, 6 draws between them. It's been one of the more balanced series that we've had within the league history. Madison's still the last unbeaten team within USL 1, but I'm going to go with the draw on this one.
I think I took Madison in this. Again, this is a purely because it's a home game for Madison. It's just one of these situations that I love Breezefield, and I love just how electric that venue gets. Also, Derek Gebhard, just in general, I just want to say how good he has been. So I'm going to go Ford Madison, but I would not be surprised by any outcome. Last but not least, I'm a little torn here. You guys help me out. Should we do Richmond Noco or Chattanooga Tormenta?
Noco is never losing again, so let's choose the other game.
Hard for me to disagree with that. Chattanooga versus South Georgia Tormenta. Chattanooga Red Wolves team, who they were hot, and then they are not. They cannot win a game. They had one of the craziest collapses I've seen in a long time versus our Charlotte Independence, where they came back from 2-0 down to win by 2 goals. A South Georgia Tormenta team who is winless in their last 4, but they have been close matches, and it feels like they were just one moment away from getting a result themselves. Both teams are sputtering. They could theoretically draw, but somebody's going to lose this game. That's just how this one's going to work out. Who do you think it's going to be?
I think the Red Wolves are going to lose this game. I think they're sneaky, kind of terrible, and I hate to see how incoherent, how disunified they look in terms of their defensive shape, in terms of the way that they're pretty feckless trying to get chances. Tormenta, I'm not going to pretend like they've been hard done by. Like, there have been some clunkers of performances, but you think about Kilween, you think about Doyle, and you think about Spengler. There's enough talent here, and they've shown enough flashes that it's going to get right eventually. No better time for it to happen than against a Chattanooga team that I don't rate.
What's really interesting about this historical series is the last 3 games of this matchup has seen a team score 4 goals in the matchup, including it back in August 2023, which was a wild 4-4 match as well. I really think that Tormenta, they've been closer to wins despite having just 1 win in the last 10 than Chattanooga has been over the kind of recent marks of this season. You're looking at a Chattanooga team who's conceded numerous goals on, I think, 4 occasions this year, like the 4-2 defeat, the 5-2 defeat they had against Omaha as well, a 4-3 defeat against Lexington. I have to pick Tormenta on this one.
I'm also taking Tormenta. There was a minute where I was considering Chattanooga, but I also just think that a bit of that 3-1 win over Greenville is clouding my judgment a little bit because I saw what they could do if they just simply were competent. I also just want to have the conversation because Chattanooga's old coach posted on Twitter, "You miss me yet?" In quotations, definitely just quoting something. It had nothing to do with the fact that Chattanooga lost just 30 minutes before.
That's the most preposterous thing I've ever heard.
Chattanooga's in a bad spot right now, man. Tormenta, at least the vibes seem okay there. I do believe in what they have on the field. And here's the crazy part. I love what Chattanooga has on the field. And they've been doing this weird thing where they haven't been starting Ricky Ruiz, which feels insane. And I don't get it. And I think he was subbed off with an injury. Like he got subbed on, got subbed right back off. So maybe he's been nursing an injury. As far as I know, he hasn't. And if they've just been willingly not starting Ricky Ruiz, someone needs to check them for match fixing because like that's an insane idea. So I'm going to take Tormenta. All right.
It'd be wild if you accused a team of possibly match fixing and then picked them.
Ooh, now that'd be fun. Just trust me, guys. Trust me. This one's going to work. I listen, any final USL thoughts for the night?
I do want to throw out there that Colorado Springs' lineup is out for the game that's about to happen, and they're giving Malik Foster the night off. So that seems apt right about now.
We also gave Malik Foster the night off. So
yeah, that's all I got.
The only thing I want to throw out there is that I'm already just thinking ahead, and I'm just going to throw this out here. I am extremely ready to have a real Lexington conversation because they're bad. And
next week, the Lexington funeral.
I'm ready to bury them. And I think that's going to be next week. I need one more week to fully solidify my opinion, but I'm ready to bury them. So stay tuned, folks. All right. Final thoughts for the night. Ryan.
Yeah, I'll probably echo what Phil was probably going to bring up if he was here. But House of the Dragon back on HBO Max. They just had their season 2 premiere episode. It was just as about gruesome as the last season was, but very good TV show.
Good to hear. John?
Yeah, I feel like I've been super busy. Like obviously I missed the show last week, so I've not been TVing much. I'm kind of mad on The Acolyte, I have to say, Star Wars wise. Like good, not the highest highs, but I'm so committed to anything Star Wars that's happening ever that I'm going to see it through to the end and probably fall in love with it.
Yeah, fair. My final thought for the night, not USL thought, has to do with TV and like just general like viewing things. My biggest pet peeve in life these last few weeks have been the commercials and ads like on YouTube or on TV in general where they're doing fake vlogs. It makes me want to throw my head out the window.
This is such a good shout.
It makes me so mad. It's specifically a Safe Flight commercial where they're like pointing vlog like these little like gimbal iPhones at each other and like filming each other and filming the guy who is like replacing their car or like their car windshield, and it drives me insane. It makes me irrationally angry. So there's a fun fact for you. All right. Anything else before we go? All right. Hey, speaking of Alan, who we are about to bring up, just go send him some love. Not going to get into specifics, but just go message Alan Underwood. I think it's A Underwood 48, and tell him that you love him and that you appreciate him. Do it literally right now. The moment you hear this, unless you're driving, pull over, stop the car, then send him, I love you and appreciate you. Just do it, please. So go do that for us. So for the first and last time tonight, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see everyone again next time.